Belt clothing. A belt is a flexible band or strap, typically made of leather, plastic, or heavy cloth, worn around the natural waist or near it as far down as the hips. The ends of a belt are free and a buckle forms the belt into a loop by securing one end to another part of the belt, at or near the other end. Often, the resulting loop is smaller than the hips. Belts come in many lengths because of the variety in waist sizes, and most belts can be adjusted at the buckle to suit the wearer's waist. Description. History. Belts have been documented as male clothing since the Bronze Age. Both sexes have used them off and on, depending on the fashion trends. In the Western world, belts have been more common for men, with the exception of the early Middle Ages, late 17th century mantua, and skirt/blouse combinations between 1901 and 1910. Art Nouveau belt buckles are now collector's items. In the latter half of the 19th century and until the First World War, the belt was a decorative as well as utilitarian part of military uniform, particularly among officers. In the armed forces of Prussia, Tsarist Russia, and other Eastern European nations, it was common for officers to wear extremely tight pressing into their stomachs and gutting them up, wide belts around the waist, on the outside of the uniform, both to support a saber and for aesthetic reasons. These tightly cinched belts serve to draw in the waist and give the wearer trim physique, emphasizing wide shoulders and a pouting chest. Often the belt served only to emphasize the waist made small by a corset worn under the uniform, a practice which was common especially during the Crimean Wars and was often noted by soldiers from the Western Front. Political cartoonists of the day often portrayed the tight waist cinching of soldiers to comedic effect, and some cartoons survive showing officers being corseted by their inferiors, a practice which surely was uncomfortable but was deemed to be necessary and imposing. In modern times, men started wearing belts in the 1920s as trouser waists fell to a lower line. Before the 1920s, belts served mostly a decorative purpose and were associated with the military. Moreover, prior to that trousers did not even have belt loops. As sportswear, trousers with belt loops were already present in the 19th century. Today, it is common for men to wear belts with their trousers. In the U.S., military belts are worn snugly at dress events or at inspections so as convey impressions of fitness and discipline. From 1989 onward, the U.S. military standards regarding belt tightness during normal duty and non-duty activities have been somewhat more relaxed to prevent deleterious effects of prolonged excessive abdominal ca. Bulko. Okay. Ka. Ko. Ko. Ka. Ko. In some countries, a father's belt could be associated with corporal punishment. As belts are constructed out of materials like leather that are both strong and light, a belt can be easily wielded to produce intense pain by using it as a whip to strike the buttocks of a misbehaving child. Moreover, belts were convenient disciplinary tools, as they are generally immediately available for use. The belt can symbolize fatherly authority and paternal responsibility for one's children's behavior and moral development, but corporal punishment is not recommended for use in modern society as it was in the past. Since the 1980s and more commonly in the mid-1990s, the practice of sagging the pants, in which the waistbands usually secured by a cinched belt of trousers or typically long shorts are worn at or below the hips, thereby exposing the top part of any underwear not obscured by an upper body garment, has been seen among young men. This practice is believed to have originated with prison gangs and the prohibition of belts in prison due to their use as weapons and as devices for suicide historically, including in the latter part of the 20th century. Gang-affiliated young men and boys were expected to wear their belts fastened tightly. Materials. Leather is the most popular belt material because it can withstand being bent, folded, and tightened without being damaged. Genuine leather belts will also adapt to the wearer with time, offering a comfortable and tailored fit. Belts are commonly made from cowhide leather. Full-grain leather is the highest quality cowhide leather available and is recommended for its longevity even with daily use. Calfskin is the soft and supple, making a full-grain calfskin belt one of the highest quality available. Belts are also available in a range of other materials, including braided leather, tooled leather, suede, leather-backed ribbon, canvas, webbing, rope, vinyl, and others. Fashion and formality. Belts have transformed from a strictly utilitarian item to a fashion accessory in today's modern era. There are several unspoken rules for belts when it comes to belt shape and color, especially for men wearing suits, vs. a woman's choice of belt that is rooted in fashion trend and not always out of necessity. Formal. Well, belts for formal dress pants/attire are usually 28-32 mm wide, a little under 11/4 inch. These belts offer specialty accents such as trapento straps, beveled edges, fine stitch gauge, and a tapered tip. The leather, if it is made of leather, is commonly in a semi or high shine finish X spazzolato leather with a tight grain and a smooth leather backing. Dress belts typically have a buckle in a polished metal finish. Casual. Casual belts commonly worn with denim are usually between 35 mm and 42 mm wide, a little under 11/2 inch. These are typically made out of a one-piece leather construction with a textured appearance, with a belt buckle in an antique finish, wider, thicker stitching, or bar tacking to ensure a strong construction. Gallery. Half belt. Half belts are belts that are a half and a full connection is made via clipping the half together to create a more unified belt. There is very little historical evidence left on the half belt and its origin. The half belts can be traced all the way back AD 845 with no direct evidence for their birth.